Alright guys, you had a lot to say about part 1 of this list, and that's to put it lightly anyways. It's incredible to see how passionate you all are about Lovecraft and horror cinema as a whole, so much so that we just have to do a part 2 because, as you also fervently pointed out, there were some that didn't make our last list that deserve a spot, and of course, I hear you. There's a lot of horror goodness to go around and I'm just keeping it fresh. Fresher than a newly grown amorphous tentacle. I don't know. Hello horror fans and welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos, where of course we say that as a hyperbole that should by no means be taken as a weighted ranking system. As always, I'll be your horror host Jack Finch as we once again soar through the silver skies and take a look at the top 5 Lovecraftian horror movies, part 2. Roll the clip.
Beverly? Are you okay? Beverly...
For the curious amongst you, that clip was from 2016's The Void, which may or may not be on this. Who am I kidding? Of course it's on this list. Spoilers. Although I'm sure you'll all be happy to hear it. Now there are a few honourable mentions that need to be touted because if I'm being honest, they're not good enough to slip through my filter of cosmic horror greatness. But I figure it'll make you all happy. So in no particular order, Dagon, The Unnameable, The Dunwich Horror, Devil's Mile, The Ruins, yeah, you get the picture. Kicking off at number 5, The Mist. What a great scene. And as my guy Roguefish66 so astutely pointed out in the comment section of our previous video, Stephen King through his work wrote love letters to Lovecraft, and by proxy his work is directly inspired by the OGs of cosmic horror. Tentacles wrapped up in some foggy mist? Yeah, it's Lovecraft. 2007's The Mist, written and directed by Frank Darabont and based upon the fantastic 1980 horror novella by Stephen King, is a stark visual representation of Lovecraftian themes at a human level. Also it stars Thomas Jane, and as we all know, Thomas Jane is awesome. First released in November 2007, The Mist focuses on the members of a small town of Bridgeton, Maine, who after a severe thunderstorm flee to the town's only supermarket to stock up on supplies. Initially unbeknownst to them, a strange, terrifying cosmic mist descends on the town, concealing vicious and hungry Lovecraftian monsters. What plays out is a visceral demonstration of exactly what happens when hits the Eldritch fan and humanity succumbs to the threat of insignificant annihilation. Darabont is also one of the few filmmakers able to nail King's work and somehow managed to pen an ending that even terrified the Grandmaster of Horror himself. That's quite the accolade. Coming in next at number 4, The Whisperer in Darkness.
I've collected books full of evidence in support of the idea that there are worlds beyond our own, and people, creatures that have come here from somewhere else.
Talking about love letters to Lovecraft, this is exactly that, and in my opinion, perhaps one of the most faithful, endearing, direct depictions of H.P. Lovecraft's fiction, which is to be expected as it's one of the few films to be independently produced and distributed by the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society. It was also financially backed by Sandy Peterson, the author of the awesome tabletop RPG Call of Cthulhu, so it kind of comes with the territory, really. The film itself was shot on Mythoscope with the intention of authentically capturing that distinct black and white 1930s B-movie vibe, and it does exactly that. The Whisperer in Darkness for the most part focuses on Lovecraft's short story of the same name, and we get to see one of Lovecraft's most excruciatingly likeable characters, Albert Wilmarth, unravel the plot of the Mi-Go and their desire to stick all of our brains in jars. There's not much more to this movie other than it being a cut-for-cut, shot-for-shot, faithful adaptation of Lovecraft's work, albeit with a better ending that probably ties things together in a much better way for the silver screen. Who knew? Next up at number 3, The Endless.
How is that possible?
It's crazy, right?
Oh man. If you've managed to already notice, this film also made my top spot on the list for the top 5 horror movies that you missed part 2. And it's also making this list because it's so damn good. I know a lot of you also felt the same way, but The Endless just manages to capture that weird sense of uncertainty that regularly encompasses the best of sci-fi horror. Written and directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who also, as chance would have it, are the lead actors of this film, the film focuses on the story of two brothers who decide it's a great idea to revisit revisit the cult that they once belonged to. Spoilers, that's never a good idea. Honestly, like before, I really don't want to give too much away about this film, because going into it with zero expectations like I did is the best way to experience the endless. Also, it's testament to the film's creators that this entire film was made on a shoestring budget, and it's living proof that if you have a good idea and a smart script, you can make something as complex as Lovecraftian fiction seem effortless. Or endless. Sorry. Swinging in at number 2, In the Mouth of Madness. And yes, rest easy, John Carpenter is here, with what some of you consider to be the height of cinematic Lovecraftian horror. And as a huge John Carpenter fan myself, I'll say that you're not far off, because In the Mouth of Madness is an on-screen onslaught of why science fiction and horror go together like peanut butter and jelly, or John Carpenter and a camera. It's also one of the only films where I believe that Lovecraft's true intentions, as well as the horror greats before and after him, were fully realised for a mainstream audience. And the existential levels to this film kind of blow my mind all over again every time I think back to them. Since the dawn of human literature, writers have mused on the notion of being a character in their own novel, and the blurred signposts that point between our reality and something not quite our own. Carpenter addresses all of this and then some, all while managing to pay tribute to Lovecraft himself through the works of the mysterious Sutter Kane. Also, it stars Sam Neill at his 90s peak, and even has a supporting role from Charlton freaking Heston. Released in 1995, In the Mouth of Madness, written by Michael DeLuca and directed by John Carpenter, for all intents and purposes was a financial disappointment, middled out at the box office and was received poorly by critics. But just like Lovecraft, that doesn't stop it being a colossal of horror cinema, and the final part in a trilogy of Carpenter's finest work. And finally, our number 1 spot, The Void.
Bev. No, don't do that. Bev! Put the scissors down. Look at me! Bev, okay, stop.
Here's exactly why this film is awesome, and here's why it hits the number 1 spot on this list and proves that sci-fi horror is alive and writhing in the world of cinema. The Void, written and directed by Stephen Kostanski and Jeremy Gillespie, was inspired when Gillespie was working at Pinewood Studios and overheard that the main man himself, Guillermo del Toro, was working on At the Mountains of Madness on the floor above him. Of course, unfortunately, we haven't heard a sniff about del Toro's Lovecraftian adaptation, but from the exact same creative spark came 2016's The Void, and we as horror fans are all better off for it. I love this film because it makes no grand claims of being something that it's not. It's humble in its approach to the same greats of horror that it builds its vision around, all while offering a few fresh twists and turns in an otherwise beaten out narrative. Essentially, The Void is a crowd-funded film, yet the practical effects in this film are astounding, and instead of relying on quick cuts and badly cobbled together CGI, we see exactly why the likes of Carpenter's The Thing and Clive Barker's Cenobites had so much weight in horror cinema. Also, it had some of the most beautiful promotional graphic design I've seen in a long time. Hey, I'm a sucker for a good poster. Give The Void a watch because it's fun as hell and worth every second of your time. Well, that's my list, horror fans. Why don't you let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Before we depart though, let's take a look at some of your more creative comments from over the past few days. Henjar says, "This isn't the most scary channel on YouTube, T-Series is." Wow, Henjar, if that's the case, then how do you explain this? Next up, Lean Party says, "Awesome video, man. I always like and I work night shifts from 6 PM to 3 AM and I watch your videos all night." Well, Lean Party, my good buddy, that's literally some incredibly high praise. Thank you very, very much. I used to work a night shift between 9 PM and 8 AM and it was pretty damn spooky, I've got to say it. You stay strong, buddy, there's some creepy stuff on a night shift. Well, there we have it, horror fans. Just sticking around all the way until the end. If you're a fan of this video, please be a dear and hit that thumbs up button as well as that subscribe bell, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. As per usual, I've been your horror host, Jack Finch. You've been watching Top 5 Scary Videos, and until next time, you take it easy.